Hi, welcome to the channel. So my car is completely taken apart right now and I have this huge update coming that I'm really excited to share with you, but that's not what we're here for today. Today I'm going to show you how to install a battery tender on your Lamborghini Gallardo. If you have a LP Gallardo or a Huracan or an Aventador, this is going to be super easy and I'm going to show you exactly why. But if you have a pre-LP Gallardo like my Superleggera, it's going to be a little bit more of an involved process, but don't be intimidated. It's really simple. But there's one major pitfall I want you to avoid when it comes to installing a battery tender on your car. We're also going to go into why I chose a C-Tech battery tender over a more traditional battery tender for one very specific reason. And I'm pretty excited to show you that. And then finally, we're going to talk about why exactly do you even need a battery tender on your car in the first place. So let's go over to the bench and I'll show you exactly why I bought a C-Tech battery tender and then we'll put it on the car. So I went with the C-Tech battery tender, this one being an MXS 5.0, and it works with traditional batteries and AGM batteries. And this is the same supplier that Lamborghini has. So if you buy like an Aventador or a Huracan, you'll get like a nice fancy box with foam in it and stuff like that. And it has this battery tender in it and it'll say Lamborghini across the top. Very expensive, but it's the same internals. So just save yourself a little bit of change. Don't get the Lamborghini logo and just buy the C-Tech one. I'll be sure to link it in the description below as well. So the main reason why I went with a C-Tech battery tender is the connection interface between the part that's mounted on your car and the part that's mounted on the battery tender. There's other brands like battery tender themselves that use a different connection interface, and I'll show you a picture right here. And it's just less rugged. I like this one because it has an integrated O-ring, and then when you connect it together, it has a nice positive mechanical interface. That's just really nice, and it's really why I went with it. So for the same price, if not maybe a couple bucks more, I really recommend this one, and I think it's going to last you a lot longer than the other ones do. So let's get this installed on the car, and I'll show you exactly the pitfalls that you need to avoid on yours. So if you have an LP Gallardo, your job is already done. You're going to have a cigarette lighter socket right here where you can plug in the battery tender, and I'll be sure to link an adapter that you'll need for the C-Tech battery tender for that. All you do is pop the hood, plug it in every time you park the car, and then you're good to go. But for the pre-LP Gallardos, you're going to want to open up this battery box cover. Super simple. And then I'll show you what's inside. So in here we have the negative terminal and the positive terminal. And a lot of people, this is what I can't recommend. A lot of people install the battery tenders right on these little lugs for the bolts. And I really can't recommend that, and I'll show you on the bench why. And what we're going to be doing is we're going to be installing it on this M6 stud right here, and then this M8 bolt hole that's also attached to the battery lug. So I'll show you exactly why that needs to happen and why it's the most effective method for installation for this. So to be honest with you, I actually already had a C-Tech battery charger in my car. And if you look closely at this connector, you can see very clearly that it was damaged when it was attached to that traditional battery lug right here, and you can actually see that it's cut in one segment. I think what happens is when you twist on this nut, it actually gouges into this metal piece and causes it to fail. And that's why I really can't recommend it. And you can tell, like, even, you know, this is a high quality cable, and you can tell, like, right in front of you, like this just broke off. So I mean, it's something really I want to avoid. So we have the new connector here, and for the positive lug, I'm going to be using a M8 button head cap screw with a washer. And I want this washer, this is the most important part, because it's independent of the fastener and it will distribute the load most effectively for this little connector. And then this other side, I have I actually have this in my toolbox, but it's just an M6 nut, and it has an integrated washer that's free floating. So same methodology to distribute that load, and then since it's independent, it also won't gouge into that little ring terminal. So that's what I'm going to use on this car, and that's the most effective thing that I recommend. And then with these, I'm also going to put dielectric grease on the interface to the battery connector terminal. So I'll show you how to install that, and it's pretty easy. Okay, so I'm going to get the positive lug and put it on the M8 screw hole. Oop. Yeah, don't lose that. You're going to have to take the whole front trunk out if you do that. That looks perfect. Okay, and then we're gonna get the black wire and put it on the negative stud over here. Just like that. And then tighten down this one with the hex key, since I'm using a button head screw. It's just a simple little hex key operation. And then the other side is a 10 mil socket. Most M6 bolts are use a 10 mil socket spanner. Just like that. Cool. That's really it. You just close it up. Make sure your wire management's good. And tighten those two little. So after you plug in your battery tender, you're going to see a couple modes. There's bicycle mode with an AGM battery, reconditioning cycle. This is like if you drain your battery like really dead and you have to try to fix it. Good luck. And then AGM reconditioning, and the same with the car. So for this car, I actually have an AGM battery. If you don't know what kind of battery you have, just check on your battery and see if it says AGM on it or not. And AGM stands for absorbed glass matte, which is kind of a more specialized battery. So if you get like the most expensive battery from AutoZone, it's going to be an AGM. And in this case, I have it. So all you have to do is set it. You don't have to set it ever again, which is cool. So you just plug it in when you get home and then you're done. That's all. Then once it's plugged in and configured, all you have to do is connect it, and you can see that wonderful mechanical interface. So I do this every time I get back from a drive, and like this connection will last forever. So that's really why I went with this type of battery tender. Oh, and don't worry about this. I'm waiting on a map light that goes right here. So I make a habit to plug my battery tender in every time I park the car. I'm kind of OCD about it at this point. And I do it for one very specific reason, and it's parasitic draw. If you don't know what that is, it's basically your car sits, but the electronics are still active in the car somewhere. And in the past, I've tried to diagnose parasitic draw, and the more complicated car electronics get, the more complicated and the more of a pain in the butt it is to trace down any sort of issue. And you'll even notice in the front of your car, there's actually a sticker that says, hey, maybe you should put on a battery tender because your battery might be dead after about 20 days. I've noticed that with these cars, the battery's dead after about 3 or 4 days. And honestly, that doesn't really surprise me. I mean, even Lamborghini in the Huracan and the Aventador had battery tenders come from the factory, like I showed you, in a very special box. So it's nothing that really surprises me, and I'm really not going to even bother to fix it. It's a known problem, but it's also something you should understand. Just put your car in a battery tender and you'll be fine. So I hope this video helped you, and if it did, I would appreciate it if you liked and subscribed. That helps me out a lot, and it helps me get this video out to more people. So until next time, thanks.